So I just made a 1 minute recording where I tried to start this episode, and the phone just went off the table. So we just have to start again. And as I started in the last one, I will say that I am a bit tired today because I was out yesterday with the friends from my 1 year in boarding school in 10th grade. We were at 10-year anniversary some months ago, back in November, and now we just met up to have some fun and talk and have fun. And it got pretty late, and I was home at 3 a.m. or I was at sleep 3 a.m. and then I woke up about 8:20 a.m. and got out of bed at 9 a.m. because I was like, I cannot sleep anymore. There's light outside. It was impossible. So I'm a bit tired. But actually, I got some pretty interesting things from yesterday. Some things that I kind of saw, maybe not for the first time, but in a new way. And also, there was just some things. So one of the things that I would like to start off with is that I didn't drink yesterday at all. Drink any alcohol. I drank water. I did. It was not like, no, I'm not going to drink anything for tonight. I drank water, but I didn't drink any alcohol, which was kind of a big achievement for me because I have wanted to stop drinking for real for the past or since summer, so for about half a year. But there's always been some occasion when I need to try this. I'm just gonna drink some and I found out why, because I thought about it, and it's because I was worried about what people was gonna think about me when I told them I stopped drinking alcohol. And the camera is weird. I think it just got back again. It kind of looks like it did. Maybe. But I was not very confident in telling people that I would stop drinking or had stopped drinking. So I just played along and just drank a little. But now I decided to say that this is a New Year's resolution. I think that in maybe not the last episode, but the episode before that on New Year's Eve, I was like, I don't have any New Year resolutions because I don't believe I'm just going to keep on grinding. But then I was like, well, this could actually be a New Year's resolution because it's something that I've been struggling with, that I wanted to do. So I was like, yeah, let's just call it a New Year's resolution. And it was like 2 days ago that I decided that it was a New Year's resolution. Because I was met with this challenge of going to a party and don't want to drink, but know that it would be difficult for me not to drink because I would be worried about what the other people would think about me. So it might not be the right way to do it, to kind of hide my intention, what I want to do behind a New Year's resolution, but it worked. I didn't drink any alcohol, even though it was tempting and I was offered many times. I didn't. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself for not doing that. And honestly, I feel way better today than I would have if I had drank some alcohol. I mean, I didn't work out because I planned that it would be best to have my rest day today because I knew I wouldn't get much sleep. So I didn't. But I mean, I've still been to my gym. I've been grocery shopping. I'm doing this podcast episode, even though I'm a bit tired and my voice is a bit craggy after all that singing and dancing. I mean, that's not what something to the voice would do, but I was dancing a lot and I was singing a lot. So, or maybe screaming sometimes also. So that's why my voice is a bit craggy and low. But I'm also going to make some food after this podcast episode. So I'm pretty proud of myself for not drinking alcohol, because as I said, I want to not drink alcohol, and I wanted to do this for the past 6 months with not much of a success. But this was actually a success. So I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's a New Year's resolution, and then for the rest of my life, I'm gonna say, yeah, I had it as a New Year's resolution, and I've kept it since then. And then I'm just gonna hit it behind New Year's resolution for the rest of my life. I mean, at some point I might be like, yeah, I just don't drink. And then they might be, why? Yeah, I just don't. And I mean, why I don't drink, I don't know if I said it, but it's mostly because of the health problems that alcohol gives. There's been done a lot of research on alcohol the past few years, maybe like past 5 years or so. Or at least results have come up from some big studies that have shown that not a single drop of alcohol is healthy in any way. It's completely unhealthy. So yeah, just a single drop will affect your health. And I follow a lot of people that don't drink alcohol, like Mark Manson, Chris Williamson, Alex Hormozi, so to me, they're some big guys. I like them and I follow them, and they are some of my role models. And I just want this. And also because I don't like hangovers. I don't like to, and as I just said, I can actually use this day. I'm tired. I know that, but I'm not hungover. I don't have headache, and I'm not like, I can do things even though I've been out partying yesterday, which is great. And I actually loved being there as well, because I was there in the moment. I was clear-headed to make good decisions. Or I mean, decisions not extremely bad, or what you can say. I think you get it. I was there, I was not drunk, and I actually like that. Because I can party, I can have fun without being drunk. I could sense that I was a bit out of place. That's another thing, which is why I'm not. Yeah, maybe I should say that we went to a but I don't know what to call it. It wasn't a club and it's not a bar, but it's something in between, like that you have the not cozy, but the vibe from a bar with a dance floor, like in a club. I think that's the best way to describe it. And I don't know if that's like a pub, because I've never been to a pub, but it's the theme is like a pub inspired, I think. I don't know. It might be wrong. Let's just say something between a bar and a club. And I felt a bit out of place because I wasn't drunk. But I was still having fun and enjoying myself. But I'm just not a party person anymore as I have been. I mean, back when I was studying at my bachelor's degree, and also for the first year of my master's degree, I was out every weekend, and usually both Friday and Saturday, 2 days every weekend. And it was fun. But I didn't feel good about myself at that time. And I do now. This was the first time that I have gone out in like half a year. And it's been 2 times for the past year. It has also something to do about my concussion. But also because that I just have chosen, maybe not chosen, but I don't want to go that much out anymore. I want to focus on myself, on my growth, and on my work. I love it. I just want to keep doing it, and I'm in the best place that I've ever been. So I'm not like trying to chase parties and going out, because that's just not what I want anymore. But something I should say as well is that I've started reading these. I mean, for a long time I have been reading such little sticky notes, or these are not sticky, but they're kind of notes. I've been writing on these for a long time, and now I've started using them for these episodes. So when something comes up during the week, I grab a note and then I start writing something. And I was like, I have to save this for the next episode, or I have done for the past week at least. And today I just made a new one where I just summed up or when I sum up the topics that I wanted to talk about. And so I have something to go for instead of I had to kind of sit in my mind like, oh, what was it I wanted to say, and stuff like that. So that's something new I'm trying, and I think it's working pretty well. Because one of the things that I also found out was that I actually still like talking about wine, even though I don't drink alcohol, not beer or wine or anything. I still like, I still like talking about wine. So something that I not realized today, but something that I thought about today is that I could still be able to keep my interest in wine and wine making, even though I'm not drinking wine, because I still think that it's interesting to talk about wine and how they're made and the culture and the history of it and such of these things, even though I don't drink. And that's something I might want to try out. I have a lot of wine books because I got quite into it a year ago, maybe more, 1.5 years ago, because I thought it was interesting. And at that time, I thought that a moderate amount of alcohol was healthy, which is what I have seen studies have shown. But now they just say it's not healthy at all. So okay, then I'm not going to drink. But I found out yesterday that I still think it's interesting about wine. So I think that I would try to see if I can both have an interest in wine without drinking. And then I was like, yeah, I actually also still have interest in art and in poetry as well. Art is more like paintings that I'm interested in, not so much in modern art, not now, at least maybe at some point. And it's something that I haven't delved much into for like half a year or something like that, maybe even more. Because again, there's been other things that I have prioritized. But today, thinking about why, because I had I made let me try once again. In my concussion, I tried to make a persona that I would like to be or become. And that persona I kind of got a bit away from, because like, I don't have time for this. This is too expensive. And it was about a persona who was interested in wine, in art, in poetry, in business, nature, investing, and in sailing, and in food and fitness and stuff like that. And I was like, well, or at least I thought today that I can still have interest in all these things without having to necessarily create a persona, but just say that this is what I have interest in, that I like to talk about and like to do. I mean, it's not like I like to talk about sailing, but I like to sail, and I would like to sail more. Even though I have thought about it many times that I will not have time for it. So I just know sailing is a love and hate relationship, because I like it, but there's not like any, or actually maybe there is, now that I think about it, because I've started to think in a new way, not in about what can I achieve from this, what is my money results by doing this, what is my time efficiency in this, but I've started to think more in the ways of how will I grow spending my time on this. And now that I think about it, when it comes to sailing, when it comes to have to sail a ship with sails, there's a lot of growth in that, actually, now that I think about it. So maybe that's something that I should pursue as well. That's kind of interesting. I will keep that in mind. And I don't know if I said this before, but actually when I do these episodes, there are some times where things just kind of like goes like a light switch in my head. And this is one of them. I think you might, if you have followed along for the episodes, you might have seen these, not episodes, but when these things happens, that I sometimes go like, wait, maybe there's this and maybe this, that could actually be interesting. That's when something just occurs to me, like, this could be interesting, this could be worthwhile pursuing or looking more into. So I would like to get more into these things, art and poetry as well, because I went into a little into poetry here between Christmas and New Year's Eve, because I saw something about Shakespeare, and I was like, wait, Shakespeare, he actually made some pretty good stories. That's pretty cool if you could just talk about Shakespeare in some way. And then I just came into poetry and listened to some poems, and there was actually one that was pretty good. I mean, I have a membership to Audible, and I just searched in their poetry, and then I found that there were a lot of poetry that I could listen to for my membership that I don't need a credit to use at. And some of them, or one of them, was a 1 hour and 20 minutes love poems. And not that I am that much into like love and romantic stuff at the moment, but it was 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I was like, that's pretty fast to consume. So I did. And it was quite fun. It was quite interesting listening to. And there was actually one that I liked quite a bit. I cannot remember how it was. The only thing I can remember is that I liked the rhythm and rhyming in it. And I believe it was called Annabel Lee. I cannot remember who made it. But he was just like, or it was like, no one can seize what I see in my Annabel Lee. And it was something like that. It just resonated very well with me. And the guy who narrated the poems, he was very good. And I also wrote in the description of the audio thing, I don't know what to call it, that he was a nominated narrator. And I could easily see that, because damn, he was good. He was really good at reading those poems aloud. So there are, even though I don't have time for it, there are a lot of things that I still want to get into and have a look at some point. Yeah. And I'm just giggling a bit, because I was like, oh, that would be so nice to just sit and read poetry, read about art, going to art museums and all that kind of stuff. But to do that, you need to have time to do it. And also because now that I think about it, when going to art museums, perspective is actually being challenged, which is also a way to grow, to challenge your perspective, to broaden your perspective. So even going to art museums could be a place where there can be growth if you see it, and if you choose it, and if you decide that you would like to challenge yourself and your belief by going into looking at art and paintings with an open mind to see what is it that the artist is actually trying to, how do you say it? Trying to explicit or explain with their art. Damn, I'm getting inspired right now. Just some low-key inspiration to art and many forms of art. I've also today added like a lot of hip hop albums to my playlist. It went from a playlist that was about a bit under 10 hours, maybe 9 hours or something like that, to the double. It's now 18 hours long because I just added albums from hip hop artists. I added from Kendrick Lamar, from Lil Wayne, from Young Money, from Tyler the Creator. Because yesterday I had a talk with two of my friends. It was because there was one dance by Drake was being played at the bar club place we were at, and I was like dancing because I like that song. I think it's a great song. And then my friend, he was like, "Oh, this is not good music." I was like, "What do you mean? It's great music." Then he was like, "Well, do you know what's happened with Drake and Kendrick Lamar?" And I had no clue. I don't watch anything, news or internet whatsoever. So we talked about that, and I was like, "Well, don't listen to Drake, listen to Kendrick Lamar." And I was like, "Yeah, I've actually, I've been wondering about starting to listen to Kendrick Lamar because I have listened to some songs where he features, which I kind of like it." And then he was like, "Yeah, you just have to. You have so many things to listen to and learn." And then the other guy, he was like, "Yeah, well, Christopher is still at the Eminem train or the Eminem show." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And I didn't think much about it. But today I realized that how he knew that was because he listens to the podcast where I talked about that I listened to a lot of Eminem some episodes ago, that I got a lot into Eminem. And there was also an episode earlier in the evening where we were home at some of the others' place to eat and just to warm up before going out. And we talked, and he was like, "Yeah, you didn't celebrate New Year's Eve." And I was like, "No, I didn't. I just lived through it." And then I didn't think about it. But today I was like, well, of course he knew that because I said that here at the podcast. So I was like, wow, people can actually get to know me a lot by just listening to this podcast. And he knows all the things that I've been talking about. And he will listen to this as well, and he know who he is, which is kind of fun. It was just fun because I didn't realize it in the evening. These 2 episodes, there might even have been more that I haven't realized. But today I was like, he said that because he listened to the podcast, because he knows. So that's pretty fun. And he listens to the Audible version I think on Spotify. I believe it's on Spotify. The podcast is on Spotify, and I believe that he listens to it on Spotify. And he said that in the latest episode 20, at the end, there's some music playing, and it was very loud. And I know why. It's because I have to turn it down every time I add it, because it is super loud compared to the voice audio. And I simply forgot to turn it down because I edited like 6 a.m. in the morning because I was late getting it out. I had to get it out on Tuesday, and I got it out on Wednesday, 6 a.m. So that's why the editing might have been a bit sloppy, I guess. And I also said, yeah, sorry about that. I don't have much time for this podcast, so sometimes it goes very quickly. And he was like, yeah, of course, no worries. And it's a one-time thing. There might be other things happening. I mean, there have been other things happening with this podcast. There still do. And I do need to upgrade my hardware and also my setup to get rid of some of these problems and setbacks. But yeah, everything at its own time, right? It will come. And there's actually one more thing that I would like to talk about, which is that as I've talked about before, I have listened to Will by Will Smith and Mark Manson, and I finished it, and I think it was good. It's long, and I don't know if I think that it is longer than it should be. I just think that because I don't know if it should be shorter, because a lot of the things was very interesting to listening to, and they also made sense why they were there. It was just very long. And I would believe that a lot of people could get lost in it because it is so long, but I think that it's still worth the while having a listen to or to read, because he has a lot of good points, if you ask me. And because he has achieved what he have achieved, he have some insights that a lot of people don't have. Because I've said this before, that a lot of people chase money, sex, and fame, and he's like, well, you shouldn't be chasing that because that will not make you happy. And that's funny because I don't know. Actually, I don't remember if that's from Will. I think it was. Where was that? I heard that in some book, or either audiobook or reading book. I read or listened to someone say that well-being is actually one of the most important things in our life, and that is why we do a lot of different things. That is because we want to achieve well-being. We want to feel good. Oh, and I can't remember. I actually think that it was in Emotional Intelligence by, I cannot remember if he's named Daniel or David Goleman. I found out that I have said it wrong earlier in this podcast, his first name. And now I can't remember which one it is. It's either Daniel or David Goleman, but he has written Emotional Intelligence. I actually think it was in that one that I read it, that why we do a lot of things, why we spend time with family, and why we chase certain things is because we want to feel better. We want to feel good about ourselves and just feel good, have a good well-being. And that's actually true. Why we do things is because of well-being, and emotions are the triggers behind decisions and things that we do. So it was just very interesting. Also because the way that Will ended was that he was actually getting more into feelings, and he thinks that we should have more attention on feelings instead of warrior mentality and achieving things, because that is what he has been doing for the most of his life, and he was not happy even though he had achieved so much. The reason why he wasn't happy was because he still wanted more. It was never good enough. Even though he broke record after record, it was never enough. It had to be better. And he said a story when I Am Legend, a movie that he made, I mean, very good movie though, that it broke records. I cannot remember what it was. There was a number, and it was something like 75 $5 million. And I cannot remember what this amount was related to, but his manager told him that I Am Legend has just broken every record and sold for this amount of money. And the only thing that Will responded was, well, how come we didn't hit 80? And that's just exactly the mindset that is a greedy mindset that means more wants more. And with that kind of mindset, you're never satisfied. And I just think that's very funny, because I see this in myself and I see this in other people. And it's kind of the way that we are raising ourselves, raising our children in this society, which is wrong, if you ask me, because as I just said, that's not what actually makes you happy. Because he had this mindset, but he was not happy. It was never enough, and his family was falling apart. And it ended with that he had to go to therapy, and he learned a lot of things about himself and about, I'm yawning, sorry. About himself and about his feelings, that he don't like to be alone with himself, and he can't sit still, he cannot be silent, because he is afraid of spending time with himself alone. And I mean, I just think you should read this book, because the Will Smith that you know is a persona that he creates to hide himself, because he is very insecure in himself. So he has made, for the whole of his life, performance and perform has been his way to cope, to not show who he is, but to show whoever he wanted the world to see, because he was able to perform, to hide himself through performance. And that's pretty interesting. So he has never been like real, because he's afraid to show himself. I'm yawning again, sorry. And that's like one of the most successful people in the world that has never shown himself because he's insecure in himself. So one of the most successful people in the world is insecure in himself. That's pretty crazy to think about it. And I cannot remember who said it, but that was some person that he met. I think it was his therapist that was like, well, if you're not happy and insecure, well, what should the rest of us be? You're our role model. And that was pretty funny, because I was like, yeah, the people that we look up to and aspire to and look up to as role models, when it comes down to it, they are just humans, just as everybody else. They are not some way better than others. They are flawed as well. And I've started listening more to Stormzy, and he's a British rapper, if you don't know him. And his latest album from 2022, I was into Stormzy when it came out, and then I would like to listen to it, and I heard one song stuck with me, which was Holy Spirit, which is great. He is a lot into Christianity and God, religion, and there is a lot of that in this album. There are also some of it in his I think it's called Gangsters and Prayers, that album. I cannot remember. I think it's called that. There's also some in that album as well with religion, but there's a lot in this one and a more softer side of him. And what I like is that he says that he is flawed, and he thinks that people takes way too that puts him on a pedestal that he could not live up to. So in his songs, he says, "Please let me be flawed." I think it's actually the one called "Please." And he also says, "Please let me forgive my father for his flaws, because I am flawed too. So who am I to know?" I believe it's like that. It's something like that. And that also kind of hit me. I will not talk about my father because I've made a promise to myself that I will make this podcast about myself and not about my friends and family. I mean, of course, it will be difficult not to bring them up at any point because there's a part of my life, of course. But I will not talk about my father. The only thing I will say is that there are a lot of things that in my early adult years, I would say, since I moved to Copenhagen, I've started to disagree a lot with him. Because I think that, we have started to see the world in different ways, which make us disagree on some things. I still love him. He still loves me. We still have a great relationship, even though we disagree on some things about life. And I had a difficult time with this at some point some years ago, with not just my father, but with my family in general, because I was starting to see some new things, and I was like, you should see these things as me because this is right. And I see now that that was a egoistic point of view from my side, because it is not necessarily what I believe that is right. So I need to take this belief to me that I am flawed as well. I am not perfect, and I will never be. I am just, I should not say just, but I am a human as well. I think I will say just a human, because that sounds better. I am just a flawed human as everyone else. No one is perfect. Everyone has their own problems that they deal with. And in some way, I think that's actually pretty beautiful, because that's also what makes everyone special. It's not what they do to become, or it's not, I don't know how to say it. It's their flaws that makes people special. And I cannot remember where I heard it, but that reminds me of when I heard that you fall in love with people's flaws, the small things that you can live with that they do. It's hard to describe for me right now because I am tired, I think, and my mind is racing with energy that I don't have. I just think that there are a lot of things to think about, and it comes to, I have this note written after I finished Will, because when he talked about feelings, and he talked about that love should be the force, the driver of a human being. Love for others and love for the world, and which is what we should aspire to, and which is what we should spend our life doing, to love people and to give to other people. And then he mentioned some values, which was, love, giving, gratefulness, caring, compassion, and forgiveness. And I've also added kindness to it. And I have to be better at forgiving I have to be better at being compassionate, to be more caring, more grateful, and more giving and more kind. And that's not only towards others, that is also towards myself. And that was kind of a hard realization, that I don't only have to be more compassionate towards others, but also more compassionate towards myself. Again, because I'm only just a human being. So I have to be better at forgiving myself for doing the things I do and for making mistakes. Because that's totally normal. That's just human. That shows that you are human, that you are not a machine. And it also reminded me of something that I had come across during my concussion, which was a Hawaiian, I think it's pronounced, a Hawaiian, what'd you say, a Hawaiian saying, I think I would call it, which is Ho'oponopono, and it can be translated into, or I should just say it. In English, it would be, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And that's pretty powerful. And that you should say to everybody else. Like everybody else. The main force of Ho'oponopono is love. Love for everything, and love for yourself, and love for anyone. And in this message, there is the I am sorry, which is like humility, I guess. Then there's please forgive me. There's forgiveness. There's thank you. There's gratefulness. And then there's I love you. Love. It ends with love. And it, I think it's pretty strong, the way I've used it. I have, when I've had people that I feel like have wronged me for the past week, it's just some episodes, then I have said this and it's helped. I think so. And also to myself, when I've been like, man, you shouldn't have done, you should have remembered this, you did blah, blah, blah. Then I said, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I have said that to myself. And there's two. The forgive me part and the I love you part hits me every time when I say to myself, to forgive myself. And it's also hitting me right now. Damn. It's strong to be able to forgive yourself for what you have done. And it also sets you free. I have this feeling of being more free from my past when I forgive myself for what I have done, because what I did and what I have done has been out of what I knew at that time. And I should forgive myself because I just did what I knew of. And that's pretty strong, if I should say so. And I think that I will end this episode. I actually didn't think that it would be this long, but it just ended like that. And I mean, I think it was pretty good. And I think that this path that I'm down on right now about feelings, about talking about insecurities and love and how to become more in touch with my feelings towards myself and towards others, I think that's a good path to be right on. To be on, I just should say. And I didn't mention that I've also listened a bit more to The Power of Vulnerability by Brenda Brown, where she also talks about shame, that you should be able to talk about shame, because shame is a lot of fixed upon you, upon your personality, where guilt is more focused on an episode. And guilt is very motivating to make changes, where shame is very inhibiting. And it's just not spoken of and taken care of will lead to depression and anxiety and other mental health issues. So shame is very important, also when it comes to vulnerability. And when I thought about, or today when I have been thinking about me saying that I don't drink, I was like, that was actually me being very vulnerable, because it's something that I have been struggling to be honest about, that I don't want to drink. But yesterday I stood my ground and I said it. And I did it even though I felt like I didn't quite fit in. And that's something that I think that's why I want to talk about Brenda Brown, because that's one of the things that she talked about in the episode that I listened to, with that we do a lot of things that we don't want to just to fit in. It matters a lot to us as human beings to fit in. And I also listened to a song by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis called Wings, which is about consumerism. And one of the things that he says in that song is that, I think it's, Macklemore, I cannot remember his real name. It's Ben, his first name. He says that I wanted to fit in, I wanted to be cool, I want to be that cool kid. It's not in that order, it's not like that, but that's what he says. And it's based upon that he buy some shoes, I cannot remember what kind of shoes, because he wanted to be cool and he wanted to fit in. And now he's more like, well, this kind of mindset have been put down on me by society. I mean, it's a very critical song about consumerism and society, which I kind of think is cool, because I'm also a bit critic to society. And wow, it's dark now. Sorry about that. It's the weather, the light. Nothing much I can do about it. But I think that's pretty cool. And I have done a lot of things in my time because I wanted to fit in. And I still do, because I still want to fit in. But I am still trying to be more myself and just do what I want to do, and trying to be strong in that. And because fitting in is about figuring out what to do to make other people like you, which is also you can not. My vocabulary today is non-existing. How you also can say that is in that it also makes you weigh people's opinions of you high, which is what you shouldn't be doing, because that will just make you do things that you don't want to do because you want other people to approve of you. You should make it the other way around. You should approve of yourself because you do things that you want to do, and that will draw the right people to you. The people that do the same things as you and actually wants to be with you because you do the things that they do as well. So by being true to yourself, you will repel the people that are not like you and don't do the things that you do or see the things that you do, and attract the opposite, people that are just like you, that wants to do the same things as you because they like the same things as you. But it is hard to stay true to yourself because we want to fit in. And when there are a trend going on that the majority of people do, others will do it as well to fit in. And if you are strong, it's hard to be strong to yourself when you want to fit in. I know that. I've been there. But I believe that it is the best place to be, is to be with yourself, strong in yourself, and going against the trends, even though it's hard. That's just what I believe. And I think I will end it at that. Stay true to yourself. And we'll see what happens in the next episode. It has been a weird episode. Some good topics, actually. A weird vibe. I believe so. A low vibe because I'm tired. I'm still tired and I need to get some food. So I will end this episode and I will say thank you for listening and have a very good day. Bye.